Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, a luck-based children's party game. Or is it? Since its release, this game has had a thriving competitive scene. Because of this, tons of advanced techniques have been found to give skilled players a competitive advantage. While the global competitive community has largely moved on to Mario Kart World, many smaller leagues plan on continuing to play this game for a few more years. This video aims to explain the most important advanced techniques and how to perform them, so new competitive players can have an up-to-date guide to get them started. When I'm explaining these techniques, I will be placing a 1 to 5 star rating in the top right of the screen to indicate how important the technique is. I recommend everyone watch the whole video in case there is something you may not know, although for those who already know most of these things, I will have timestamps in the description for all of the individual techniques. I will be leaving out a few techniques that aren't that important, but feel free to comment any that I missed that you think are important. For those who don't already know, I'm ElsBlue34. I played on the Grand Island Northwest varsity Mario Kart team for 4 years. For 3 of those years, I was team captain. I have won 2 tournaments, got the MVP trophy at another, and got a perfect score at state in 2025, with my team coming in 3rd. Although I am no longer an NSESA player, I want to see the level of competition in Mario Kart go up as much as I can, so I'm making tutorials for new and old players alike. With that said, let's get into the video. We'll start off this video with the most important category of driving techniques: drifting. While driving, press and hold the R or ZR button and steer in one direction to start drifting. After drifting for long enough, blue sparks will appear under your wheels. Once this happens, release your drift to get a mini turbo. There are 3 different levels of mini turbo: a blue mini turbo, also known as a mini turbo or MT, an orange mini turbo, also known as a super mini turbo or SMT, and a purple mini turbo, also known as an ultra mini turbo or UMT. Each level of mini turbo takes longer to charge and gives you a bigger boost. Your mini turbos charge faster when you turn tighter. You can use this to charge better mini turbos faster, but very few turns are tight enough for you to hold a tight drift. By wiggling the left stick between turning tight and turning wide, you can charge better mini turbos while turning the same amount. This is called wiggle drifting. There's an even better way to charge mini turbos: soft drifting. When the game checks how tight you're drifting to determine how fast your mini turbo will charge, it only checks in a few zones. If you're turning left, then holding the stick in the left fourth will charge fast. The middle half will charge slow, and the outer half will charge slower. We can use this to turn at a shallower angle while still charging a bigger mini turbo. When combined with wiggle drifting, soft drifting allows you to get a much better mini turbo than you could otherwise. Sometimes even soft drifting isn't quite enough to get the mini turbo we want. When this happens, we have a few techniques that we can perform at the start of a drift. In order of most commonly used to least commonly used, we have counter hops and delayed drifts. Counter hops are just about what they sound like. Before drifting, hop in the opposite direction of the turn to start the turn facing away. This allows you to spend a bit more time turning and potentially get a better mini turbo. Usually you only do 1 counter hop, but occasionally you may do more. Generally, this isn't worth doing outside of certain shortcuts. Next, we have delayed drifts. These work on the same principle as counter hops. Normally, when starting a drift, you hop in the direction you are about to turn. This gives you a bit less time to charge your mini turbo. When performing a delayed drift, you press the hop button and then move the stick in the direction of your turn once your kart is in the air. This technique is very rarely needed, but is worth doing as it is the same speed as normal drifting and gives you more leeway when charging mini turbos. It is very common to land from a ramp on a turn. In this case, you might intuitively try to start a drift after landing. However, there is a better way to go about this. If you hold the inputs for your drift before you hit the ground, you will land in a drift automatically without the need for a hop. This technique is known as a slip drift and is a very easy way to save a bit of time on almost every track in the game. One thing you may not have realized while drifting is that steering while drifting is actually slower than not steering. For this reason, it is faster to drift without touching the stick. This is known as a neutral drift. It is a pretty important tech for 200cc races, but is rarely used in 150cc races outside of some specific shortcuts. Our final drifting tech is quite important for performing a lot of shortcuts in Mario Kart: mini turbo hops. This technique allows us to get a lot of airtime, which can allow us to take many shortcuts without a mushroom. To perform this tech, release a mini-turbo and immediately repress the R or ZR button to hop while on an upward-facing slope. If you do it right, you should get a good deal of airtime afterwards. As I said, this tech is very important for shroomless shortcuts all around the game and is therefore very important to learn. Our next category of tech to learn revolves around tricks. When going off of ramps and other objects in Mario Kart, you can press the R or ZR button or shake the controller to get a trick. This launches you further than just driving off the ramp and gives you a boost when you land. We can make our launch from the ramp even more powerful and faster by performing a mini-turbo trick, also known as an MT trick. To do this, simply release a mini-turbo right before tricking off the end of a ramp. As I said, this gives you a much bigger launch forward from the ramp than you would normally get from a trick, and it is used fairly commonly when racing. On some tracks, there are bouncy objects that you can trick off of, such as the flower on DK Jungle and the red mushrooms on Mushroom Gorge. There is a better way about doing this, though. By performing a mini-turbo trick on a bouncy object, we get what's called a super bounce. This launches us forward with incredible speed. This tech is pivotal to driving on certain tracks and is generally worth knowing. On many tracks in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you can find glider panels that allow you to fly over a portion of the track. Unsurprisingly, pro players have found a whole host of tech to make gliders faster. Starting off simple, we have a technique simply known as cannon glider. Some glider panels, such as the ones on Sweet Sweet Canyon and DK Mountain, launch you at high speed instead of putting you into a normal gliding state. These are called cannon gliders. When going into a cannon glider, it is faster to hop onto the glider panel as opposed to tricking off of it. This may seem counterintuitive, but it's faster. It is very easy tech to pull off that can make or break your races on certain tracks. For normal, non-cannon gliders, it is common for us to perform a glider vector. To do this, we drift off the glider sideways until the game releases our mini-turbo for us. We then hold up and back towards the track on the left stick. Once we almost get back to the track, we hold straight back on the stick to return to level. The reason this is faster is because the game lets you travel faster in a glider when going diagonally as opposed to straight forward. It was intended to make steering in a glider not slow you down too much, but by going off the glider pedals sideways, we can abuse this mechanic to go faster. A very similar technique is motion glider. For some unknown reason, if you have motion controls on and steer using both the left stick and motion controls while in a glider, the game doubles your inputs and makes you turn twice as sharp. When combined with a glider vector, this allows you to move much faster. The issue with this tech is that it requires you to have motion controls on, which can mess up the rest of your driving and is therefore not commonly used in competitive races. In general, glider vectoring is faster than tricking when you are able to get an orange mini-turbo, and motion glider is faster as long as you can get a blue mini-turbo. This is important to keep in mind for a few specific tracks. There are a few more techniques worth going over. Alignment hops allow you to change your kart's direction quickly. Simply spam hops in the direction you need to turn. This is used in a few shortcuts, but is more commonly used to correct driving mistakes. A half-pipe air hop is a very specific tech only used on a few DLC tracks. Normally, when tricking off of a half-pipe, you get sent away from the half-pipe, preventing you from chaining half-pipe boosts. To fix this, instead of tricking on the half-pipe, input a hop towards the half-pipe at the moment your kart's tires turn into hover mode. If done correctly, you will see nothing different. But after you leave the half-pipe, you will be facing pretty much straight on, allowing you to almost immediately get back on the half-pipe for another boost. By doing this, you can chain many boosts along a straight half-pipe. Our final technique is a minor one, but one that can clutch you a victory at the last second. A Kusaan Slide is an advanced technique named after pro Mario Kart player Kusaan. It is most commonly seen when ending a track after a trick ramp, such as on Hyrule Circuit. The inputs are pretty easy. Land in a slip drift and hold out on your turn as you slide towards the finish line, ending with a hop over the line. This extends your trick boost. The reason this is almost exclusively used at the end of a race is because Kusaan Slides slow you down a bunch after the slide ends, making them lose time overall. When doing it over the finish line, we can utilize the boost without being impacted by the slowdown, as the race is already finished by the time it impacts us. This tech doesn't save a ton of time, but because it saves a decent amount of time at the finish line, it can allow you to clutch a spot or two at the last second if your competition doesn't know about it. So that was my summary of all the tech you need to know to win in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It may seem overwhelming now, but learning these techniques will enable you to learn much faster driving and win much more often. Remember, Mario Kart is 10% luck and 90% skill. Even if you're better than your opponent, you may still lose. But 9 times out of 10, your skill will allow you to win. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to get notified when I release more Mario Kart tutorials. Like the video if it helped you, and comment your favorite Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tech. Thank you for watching.